Richardson. And facing them tonight, our top answer is Vernon Kay. Achtung, baby, it's Henning Ben. And their team captain, Sean Locke. Now, welcome your host, Jimmy Carr.
Hello and welcome to 8 out of 10 Cats, a show about opinion polls, surveys and statistics. Did you know, for example, 32% of Britons aged between 25 and 39 live at home with their parents? I guess that can be awkward sometimes. For instance, if you're a grown-up who's currently watching this with your parents, why don't you all just take a moment to imagine each other having sex? See? Awkward. Only 1% of Brits don't own a TV. You know what I call people like that? Anything I like, they're not going to see this. And 15% of men have never touched a vacuum cleaner. I've never touched a vacuum cleaner. In fact, I've literally no idea how it got up there. Right, let's get started. What are you talking about? That's the name of our first round. It's our palace job to guess the British public's top 5 most popular talking points. John's team, what do you think the nation have been talking about this week?
Maybe BBC.
It's an extraordinary crisis, isn't it? It's a crazy thing that's happened.
It's just got to the point now where it's impossible for them to regain their trust. Like, for that to happen, Stephen Fry would have to cure cancer live on Strictly.
You're right, though. According to a poll, faith in BBC journalism has dropped 44%. Although I don't know if you can trust that poll because it was conducted by the BBC.
It's not about that we've lost trust in the BBC, lost trust in elements, says she, Mrs. BBC.
Yeah, I think, I'll be honest with you, I don't think anyone is questioning the bakery shows. No one is going, really, that flan's going to rise like that just because of a bit of yeast? Yeah. No way. Yeah. Presumably you're up for the job of Director General.
Yes, I have been asked,
you must be on a list. Everyone's on a list.
I think you are. You're on it, aren't you?
Jimmy's going to be treasurer. Well, I think it's ridiculous, this idea that the BBC have lost trust. If you compare it to, say, News International, when they had phone hacking, they did their own investigation and they completely covered it up for years to the point where it's caused the Leveson inquiry, whereas the BBC made a mistake and they went, yeah, we've made a mistake. So I think this is a little bit of a witch hunt here against the BBC, usually by forces that have other purposes on their mind.
Well, what do you think
of the evil Murdoch empire? I don't think the BBC have lost trust. I just think they should sack loads of people who don't do their job properly. Yeah. The BBC, fundamentally, as an institution, still works. I mean, Newsnight, basically, they were doing reports based on what was written on bridges. Like, Gibbo's a nonce. Someone's written, Gibbo's a nonce on a bridge. You go, well, Gibbo must be a nonce then.
The thing is that it doesn't help yourself, the BBC, because you turn it on, it's the lead story in the news. I've been listening to 5 Live for the past 2 weeks, and all they talk about is Newsnight. It's like, fellas, put the gun down and step away.
The problem is the BBC is the state broadcaster, and in Britain there is such a hefty scepticism towards anything to do with state that the moment there is any shortcomings, everyone just jumps at the opportunity. And so then it is... In a way, Britain is the last bastion of communism in Europe.
I'd like to hear more about why we're the last bastion of communism.
Because the state's the enemy. Yeah, the state is seen as the enemy. I mean, that is... And it's all aspects of the BBC. Like, then like, little things, like they had... Oh, Jeremy Paxman, why did he have to fly in business class? Well, he said because he had to get some work done. So in Germany, everyone would accept that, yeah, that's fair enough. Well, it's in Britain, everyone goes, well, he's not going to do any work on there, he's just going to eat peanuts and getting drunk. Had he gone standard class, everyone would have gone, well, can't he go on the couch? Had he gone on the couch, why doesn't he take a bicycle? Well, he walks in them expensive shoes, can't he walk barefoot?
OK, George Entwistle. George Entwistle. So he was in the job 54 days and he was given a full year's salary, £450,000, to leave.
David Mellor said he had the leadership qualities of Winnie the Pooh, which I think A man managing Tigger cannot be an easy job. If you've ever been in a meeting with him, I'm very aware of what the wonderful thing about Tiggers are. We've got to get this report finished, and there'll be plenty of time for bouncy. Fair enough to, you know, in any other period, say, oh, he made a bit of a mistake. But when you come in that environment, and then your argument is, oh, they did a whole Newsnight report on naming paedophiles and I didn't check it. I think if I was Director General of the BBC, I would know everything. I would know who won Bargain Hunt every day. I'd be in meetings going, who is this Iggle-Piggle prick?
Envoys left after 54 days.
Yeah.
I mean, within 54 days, he can't stamp any authority on anything. So, and Newsnight, in a way, they just acted like gambling addicts, didn't they? They had the winning lottery ticket. That was the Seville story. That was the winning lottery ticket, but they lost it in the wash. So they remortgaged the house and bought scratch cards.
I don't get the difference, right? Well, I do now. I've realised when you resign, you get paid. When I worked at B&Q, I got sacked for building an A-team-style tank out of company materials. And I stupidly stuck around until they gave me my marching orders. I should have resigned. Shot a hole in the wall and fucked off. But I didn't, I just kept building.
It's funny, he's touched on something which I really wanted to talk about.
Really?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it was where Philip Schofield will be working soon, because I'm really surprised he hasn't had more crap from this, because that bit where he basically handed the Prime Minister a list of names of paedophiles. Not only did he partially start off this witch hunt, he made the Prime Minister look good.
Yeah, well, the problem...
The Prime Minister looked really together, didn't he?
What was the Prime Minister doing on ITV? Where is he on next? Like, Nuts Magazine TV?
The worst thing is, I was watching Philip Schofield and I agree with you, I thought he looked ridiculous. Like, oh, I found this in 3 minutes. That's what Philip Schofield did. Imagine what Richard Madeley would have done. He would have been dressed as Jimmy Savile going, I've written a list on my knob.
Let's have a look and see whether the crisis at the BBC is one of the most talked about things over the last week. Of course, the most talked about thing. Yes, the BBC is in crisis. I think the BBC will be all right. They've still got Brucey, although it has been cold. Last Friday, all the top BBC stars did their bit for children in need. Freddie Starr stayed at home and Jimmy Savile remained dead. All right, Sean Steen, what else has the nation been talking about this week?
Is it the fact that Abu Qatada, like Peter Andre, won't be going back to Jordan? Which is the real tragedy. But that's the real tragedy. When will she find love? But on another matter, yes, we can't get rid of Abu Qatada.
We can't... Yeah, it's terrible.
You can't push him on a plane, you can't drag him onto a boat.
You do what you do with parents and just send them on a coach holiday. They think they're going out for the day and you can send them away forever.
Hello, Abu Qatada. You're on Channel 4's coach trip.
Can you imagine? Oh, well, this fella turned up early, suspected terrorist. Can't believe it. We put him at the back, he'll be fine, give him some sandwiches and a can of fizzy pop, he'll be all right.
Is it true it's going to cost £5 million?
£5 million? Well, that's that's a year. That's a whole year to keep him in the country, so
well, that's all
not
right,
unreasonable. Yes, £100,000 a week, because apparently he's watched by 60 police officers, and there's cameras and microphones all over his house.
60?
60 police officers.
Don't they get in the way of each other?
Well, I think they're on...
What's he doing, running around like a lunatic? He runs around loads, so it costs more money. Just constantly going, he can't see me now, can't see me now. There we go. Where is he? Where the fuck is he?
He's been filmed all the time in his house. Now, technically, we own that footage because we're paying for it. Now, he's going to fall over, he's going to stub his toe. He should have a one-weekly highlight package. Abu's been framed. That's what I'm pitching it as. And he's going to be pretty sexually frustrated, I imagine. If you've got cameras all over your house. Like, week one's just him getting a bit annoyed. Then week two, his showers are getting a little bit longer. Then by week three, he's just looking down the lens going, it's happening now. You watch if you want, but this is going to finish very angrily.
Little glimpse there into John's world.
Well, I think that Abu Qatada, he gets a lot of unfair press here in the country. Like, it's always described as the nightmare neighbour. How can that man be a nightmare neighbour? I mean, he's not allowed to leave the house. He's not allowed to have visitors. The police is always on the doorstep. He's an absolutely brilliant neighbour.
And also, if you've got a parcel coming, you can say, leave it at Abu.
Yeah.
Guaranteed to always be in. Or someone at the
Probably people won't do that for him, though. Yeah, I'll have one of Abu's parcels.
OK, let's see if Abu Qatada getting released is one of the most talked about things. Yes, radical Muslim cleric Abu Qatada has been released from prison. The Abu Qatada row has blown up over nothing, as have a lot of Abu Qatada's friends. OK, Johnstein, what else have the nation be talking about?
There's a new leader of China, and therefore the world, called Xi Jinping, who he's been touted as they're saying, oh, he's a very informal leader. And I don't know how you be an informal leader of the country that kills 3 times more people than anyone else in the world. I mean, you want to do it with a smile on your face, at least. Anyway, guys, seriously, get back to work or I'll kill you all. I'm an informal guy, I haven't got a tie on, but I will kill you. I'll shoot you.
With security during the week-long Congress includes they banned kites.
Oh.
And they stopped taxi passengers from rolling down their windows.
Did they ban the foul-mouthed fan sellers of Shanghai? You go to this main square in Shanghai and there's like thousands of fan sellers and they sell these exquisitely decorated fans, beautiful fans. But when you actually ask to buy a fan or you look at them, the fan sellers are notoriously rude. And they just go, what are you fucking looking at? They just say, if you want to buy a fucking fan, otherwise fuck off.
And who can argue with that? Yeah. This is from the Congress last week. One of the Chinese delegates was photographed yawning during the president's speech. Take a look. We'd just like to send condolences to his family.
And you don't know, if he's somewhere from West China, it was probably 14 days on the back of a rickshaw to get there. And the moment they found out in China, they said, what, on a rickshaw? Who's paying for that? Couldn't he walk?
Well, I can tell you it's not in our top 5, but last week China underwent a once-in-a-decade transfer of political power. China has really changed. It no longer has an autocratic, ruthless, militaristic leader called Hu Jintao. It's now governed by an autocratic, ruthless, militaristic leader called Xi Jinping. Sean, Vernon, Henning, what else have the nation been talking about?
From a sporting perspective, it's got to be the fantastic Swedish goal scored by Ibrahimovic against England. An overhead kick. It's phenomenal.
I thought it was OK. Let's have a look at this incredible goal.
What's phenomenal is he took his top off and he got booked.
Got a yellow
If you
card.
score a
booked?
goal like that, he should have been allowed to take all his clothes off and have sex with a penalty spot. And we should have all had to just wait until he finished.
Why do you need to take your top off? I agree with the ref. The ref's got no choice. It's FIFA regulations. He
The
has to.
rules, isn't it? Rule 17.
Yes, exactly. And
Rules are important, aren't they, Henning?
Now, well, let me tell you that the best goal ever will never, ever be scored in a friendly game.
Yes, I agree.
So show it on the big stage when it matters.
What's the favourite German goal?
Anyone we've scored in a World Cup final?
Their favourite goal is getting hold of Poland. Johnny, what's the thing that you're proudest of? Because I imagine that'll be, for the rest of his life, that'll be the moment he's most proud of.
For me, genuinely,
Yeah.
you really want to know?
Yeah.
One time I told a builder to fuck off with a quote.
One time you...
A builder came round with a quote and I just opened the door. I was in the early stages of pissing myself and I went, just fuck off. I didn't even discuss it with him. He came round and went, it's going to be about when just fuck off.
I was in the early stages of pissing myself. It's the funniest phrase I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Why did you open the door then?
No, because he went...
Polite.
Right, I actually thought he might have a good quote and I wouldn't mind pissing myself for the... Good price. I actually squeezed the end of my penis and ran to the toilet.
Well, I can tell you it's not up there. But Swedish striker Zlatan Ibrahimovic has scored the greatest goal ever against England. This is the most amazing football feat since John Terry managed to persuade a jury that he's not a racist. OK, fingers on buzzers, 3 more things to get. What do you think?
The I'm a celebrity thing, isn't it? It was an incredible thing this week. One of the tasks was one of the girls had to eat an ostrich anus.
That must have tasted like shit.
But then the next task, she had to go into an enclosed space with a live ostrich and not exhale. Because if a live ostrich smells its partner's anus on your breath, you are going to get pecked to death.
The people I think I can't bear on it now is Ant and Dec, because they're like, it's gone on now, they just laugh. They're like Gaddafi's sons. Laugh at people being tortured. They just laugh. You're being tortured, you're being bitten, you have to eat this. Then they have more torture. There's a woman in a coffin having insects crawling all over her face. They're just going, You can't tire of watching people going, It just doesn't get boring.
Yeah, but it's all the stuff in between where people sit around going, oh, I miss my family. I don't. They throw things.
I mean, you would be incredible on the show if you were ever do. Do they offer it to you?
Every year. And every year, I happen to be in a supermarket where I can buy stuff and I don't have to beg for it. You know, when you're doing your shopping, they go, would you like to do a celebrity to get me out of here? Or any of them, and you're going, yeah, but you see, I'm here and I've got 9 Twixes and I don't have to do a task.
Well, Lorraine, would you go on?
Absolutely no way. I like my personal space, do you know what I mean? I don't want all these people around me all the time, getting on my nerves, having to eat anuses and willies. It's just not my thing.
Well, it's a shame. Let's see if I'm Celebrity is up there. Yes, I'm a Celebrity continues. I'm not saying the celebrities this year are unknown, but they were asked to turn up with a utility bill and 2 other forms of ID. Previous winners include Joe Pasquale, Phil Tufnell, Tony Blackburn and Christopher Biggins. And if you want to see all those winners together, head to the Marlow Theatre in Canterbury for Puss in Boots. OK, fingers on buzzers, 2 more things to get. What do you think?
Is it the story about... I didn't mean this to rhyme. Frankie Dettori. It's a story about Frankie Dettori.
Fun time, Frankie.
And there's rumours that he will be soon charged for cocaine in the French... some French race meeting.
Yes, he's certainly been accused of taking cocaine. Frankie has not admitted taking cocaine as yet.
I'm not a big horse racing fan. I don't really like it. As far as I'm concerned, it's just an excuse to give short people jobs. Why don't jockeys ever do panto? It's weird, isn't it? Do you think they had an agreement with the dwarves? They met up in a car park late at night with weapons. They had, like, clubs and knives and spanners. And they went, OK, you don't ride horses, we won't do panto. That's then an agreement.
What annoys me about people who get caught doing drugs is loads of people do drugs and they just do drugs, but then when celebrities and special athletes get caught, they describe it as a moment of madness. It wasn't a moment of madness when you decided you wanted some cocaine, you went and bought some cocaine, and then you did the cocaine. I'll show you a moment of madness. If you want to see a moment of madness. That is what a moment of madness looks like.
Call that a moment of madness?
Go on, then. Go on, then.
I don't want to be in the papers for killing you. Moment of madness? Me killing you and trying to eat your hair.
Lorraine, what do you think of Frankie Dettori? Do you think it's ever acceptable for sportsmen to take recreational drugs?
No, of course not. I know he does it to stay slim.
It's not performance enhancing, though, is it?
Well, I suppose it is for a jockey.
Because the horse is going to go faster if you're lighter.
Really?
If you're lighter,
Wayne, I love the way you've explained that because now I know why I was never a jockey.
That was the RSPCA, Johnny. Stop that. If he wants to lose weight by taking cocaine, he can't have taken the same cocaine that Maradona took. Because Maradona just got fatter and fatter and fatter. He's the only man, Maradona's the only man I've ever seen with a cocaine belly.
You know Maradona's problem was he wasn't taking pure cocaine, he was cutting it with utterly butterly.
Yeah.
If he'd have cut it with Flora, which is 95% less saturated fat than olive oil, he wouldn't have had that problem.
OK, let's see if Frankie Dettori is one of the most talked about things. Yes, jockey Frankie Dettori has failed a drugs test. They first suspected he may have taken cocaine when he won the 320 at Epsom without a horse. OK, one more thing to get, fingers on buzzers. OK, John, what do you think?
Well, I imagine it's the news that's rocking teenage boys everywhere, and it's the release of the new Call of Duty computer game. There's a girl at the door.
Well, you say teenage boys, but this last year, the games market in the UK was worth £1.92 billion.
Queued up overnight like
For 4 days, they queued.
4 days. Camping out. Would you ever camp out for 4 days for a
What,
computer
for the game?
Yeah.
What would you camp out 4 days for?
brain trainer. New edition.
I'd camp out for 4 days if I was going camping.
I read a sentence like, oh, the great thing about this game is you can live stream multiplayer games in real time to YouTube. It took me longer to understand that sentence than it will for them to complete the whole game. What that basically implies is that you could watch other people playing a computer game online. People are actually going to log on and go, what are you doing? I'm watching a Peruvian kid play a Russian kid at a shooting game. I'm leaving you.
Well, the funny thing, it's also got Nazi zombies in it, apparently.
It's got Nazi zombies.
Yeah, so, and I'm not sure where they come in and how they come in. I mean, if something's risen from the grave and is about to eat my brain, I don't really care about their ideology.
I was playing a Japanese gentleman at FIFA, and he didn't speak any English throughout the whole contest. It was me versus him. He beat me 9-0. 9-0. And all the way through, he's talking Japanese. And at the end, when I said, well, thank you very much, I got a well and truly deserved spanking. And he just said, hey, Mr. English, fuck you!
Let's have a look and see if it's up there.
Wow.
Yes, the new Call of Duty computer game has been released. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is the most exciting, futuristic, slick, engrossing, brutal, Hollywood-produced reason you're still a virgin at 30 ever. So those were the most talked about things this week. But in other news, the CIA has been rocked by revelations that its chief, General Petraeus, had an affair. General Petraeus was betrayed by private emails. Private emails is now facing court-martial. This is the most disappointing thing to happen in the American espionage community since Brodie's wife stopped getting her norks out in Homeland. And the Church of England have announced the Bishop of Durham is to become the new Archbishop of Canterbury. He's made up, as is his religion. So at the end of that, Sean, Henning and Vernon have 2 points, John, Lorraine and Johnny have 3 points. Our next round is pick of the poll. Sean, Henning, Vernon, your turn first.
What do you fancy, Henning?
Come on, the bloke there in the top left-hand corner.
OK, so the old man covering his ears. OK, here's your related question. Most British people judge others by their accent, true or false? What do you think, Henning? Do you think people judge you? Because you've got a bit of an accent, haven't you?
I've got a bit of an accent. Definitely, there is a certain degree of judgment. I recently did a gig up in Bolton, and I got heckled with that wonderful line, fuck off back to London. 10 years of listening to Chaz and Dave finally paid off.
Sean, what do you think? Do you think British people judge others on their accent?
Oh, well, I judge people long before they've opened their mouths. So
Saves a lot of time, doesn't it?
straight in there.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because, yeah, everyone, you know, there's a sort of, what's the word? A contingency in your voice and it moves around. and you can change certain things. But the only really way you know how someone speaks is when they sneeze, and that's the true voice. You can't put on a sneeze. I was walking down the street, and I lived in East London, and there was this old Cockney walking along in front of me, like this. And then he was building up to a sneeze, and he actually went, hey. Hey, 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 hey. And he went, hey, choo! I thought, that's a Cockney sneeze. You couldn't put that on.
No, you couldn't. That's a natural noise.
My wife does a terrible thing. She doesn't give you any warning. She just goes, choo!
Well, there's no...
Nothing, no warning. Just sitting there, choo! Ah, shit! They've been shot.
Johnny, do you think anyone ever judges you by your accent?
Yeah, of course you do.
It's not your accent, Johnny. It's the bollocks you talk.
I know that I'm judged by my accent because there's certain letters, there's certain vowels that I miss out.
There's whole words you miss.
Yeah, like, sorry, Jimmy, when I run over you later.
John, 81% of people admit changing their voice depending on who they're talking to. Do you do that? You change your accent?
No, James. I acquire accents quite quickly. And if I do gigs, if I go to a town, I instantly start thinking in the voice of where I am.
Does that not sound like you're taking the piss, though?
Exactly. If I've been doing gigs in Newcastle and you sort of go to a club after and you go, oh, cheers, mate, and you say, oh, fuck. You get the shit kicked out of me.
I'm no good at accents, but I can do them if I've got key phrases. So if I'm trying to do Scouse, if I'm trying to do a Liverpool accent, I have to say, I want some chicken and a can of Coke.
Hey, that's not bad, that.
Before I can start. And I can do Belfast, but only if I say, Ginger and Community. All right, so what do you think? Let's get some answers on this. Most Brits judge people by their accent. True or false? What do you think, Sean?
True.
You're going to go true? What are you going to say, John?
True.
I can tell you the answer is false. Only 25% of Brits say they judge people by their accents.
Rubbish.
Over generations, our accents become hardwired into our brains. For example, Chinese people find it difficult to pronounce R's, Germans struggle with W's, and girls from Essex find it almost impossible to say no. OK, John, what do you like the look of?
Should you have the garçon, the waiter?
The waiter, OK, you've gone for the waiter. We asked our studio audience, what do you prefer, home cooking or fancy restaurants?
It's got to be home cooking.
It's got to be home
It's got to
cooking?
be home cooking, otherwise I'm out of a job.
How many of the recipes that you've cooked on telly do you think people have done at home?
What are you saying?
I watch your shows, but I don't bake muffins. That's all I'm saying.
I've done one of
Hello.
these.
No, look.
I'm leaping in here.
Lots of people cook. He cooks my recipes. I cook my recipes.
Yeah. I've made recipes.
What does that
And
say?
they're lovely.
I mean, the thing is, I don't think it's about fancy restaurants anymore, is it? People don't really like fancy restaurants. They want some, like, nice home cooking or just like a steakhouse or something.
OK, well, John, how do you cook at home? How do you prepare a meal?
Oh, you spend your afternoon with a little bottle of wine doing your prep, don't you? You get it all in your little bowls and your jars.
Do you really? You spend the whole day cooking it?
Absolutely. And don't have people around either, they'll ruin it.
Pesto. I make the best pesto going. I should have it in jars in restaurants.
No, he was very proud. He told me about his pesto he cooked, and he's very proud of his pesto.
Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to make pesto, he'll end up with a massive company.
Some people call a fancied restaurant the difference. For some people, like, you know, who eat at KFC, going to Nando's is like, ooh. Nando's is basically KFC for people who can use a knife and fork, isn't it?
Well, we asked our audience, what do you prefer, home cooking or fancy restaurants? What are you going to go for, John? What would you
Home cooking.
Home cooking.
You think home cooking, and and Sean, you're going to go for restaurants,
He
right?
doesn't
Yeah,
agree.
we go restaurants. Yeah, maybe restaurants.
OK, well, I can tell you, 64% of our studio audience preferred home cooking to restaurants. I still like my roast chicken exactly the way my mum served it, in a furious silence after a huge argument with my dad. So at the end of that round, it's 3 points to Sean's team, 4 points for John's team. And the winner is the name of our final round. And here is your question. Worst thing about guests staying overnight?
The worst thing about guests staying overnight is with me that in the morning they expect this big fry-up, right? They want bacon, eggs, the whole works, because they just think I'm going to cook all the time. But for me, I'm like, shreddies, milk, then sling it. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm going to get.
It's when you wake up at breakfast and they're in the kitchen already and you think, who let you out? I bolted that.
Sean, do you ever have people over to stay?
Oh, God, I love it. Guests. My house is just open house. It's just... I have constantly at least 4 pianists staying in my house just to keep the... It's like New Orleans. It's great. It's just... I'm just cooking and people... Yeah, I do. I like having people around. Trouble is, it's persuading them to stay.
But you are always exhausted after, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, whenever I've got guests over, there is that degree of exhaustion because you feel that degree of responsibility. Also, you're not sure in your own house. You've lost track of what is considered tidy and what is not tidy. You think, yeah, well, there might be a broken window, but as long as the pigeons don't fly in, that's all right.
Yeah, John, do you ever have people stay over?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, well, the worst thing is knowing that you're looking after them better than they look after you. You've got to give them clean bedding, and I'll put a bed out, and I'll cook them breakfast. And then you go around their house, and they open up some cupboard and pull out this sticky, horrible sleeping bag that they've had for 15 years. And every rank mate they've ever had's come round, yeah? We just seal them up in this at night so they're sweating their feet really must out. And then they just pull it out for you, and they go, why don't we just share bathwater and, you know, not flush the toilet either. And then when they come around mine, I do them a little duvet and a little... put the bed out and a clean pillow, and then just sometimes I think, oh, sod off. Didn't bother coming round, and then they leave, and I think, oh, actually, I wish they'd stayed.
I mean, I imagine, Johnny, you're pretty much a perfect house guest.
No, my worst thing, people...
I can say he really is.
My worst thing about people staying over is pointing out that your house is not a house, it's an abandoned school, and you're a squatter.
Johnny's family were on Family Fortune, and they won a jacuzzi. So I would imagine that if you're a guest at Johnny's house, you can nip next door.
My brother won a jacuzzi, but he's still living with my mum and dad.
Oh, really?
So it wasn't a big bonus.
Have they plumbed it in yet? Have they plumbed it
No,
in?
he sold it. He sold it. He sold it. And he bought loads of cider.
The thing is, the dimensions of the jacuzzi were exactly the same as Johnny's brother's backyard. So
It wasn't his backyard, it was his parents. And you gave him a jacuzzi. What more tells a man that he's going nowhere? So we had to sell it. And when we sold it and he got the money, he got really drunk. He had 2 fights in the park. And he bought me a fucking kite, which meant I couldn't vote in the Chinese elections. He genuinely did. He bought me a kite.
I've never had a headache on exactly half of my head before.
OK, worst thing about guests staying overnight?
The other thing is when you stay at someone's house and they don't tell you straight away what the weird things about their house are. Just say, you cannot flush the toilet unless you stand on that floorboard and sing Oklahoma. Because otherwise you're in there at 3 o'clock in the morning still trying... And you know they can hear you. They heard you the first time when it didn't quite flush. They didn't come out, they just left you in there all night, pulling the thing, and I had to wait a little bit longer, but now it's empty again. I've got to stand in here for 20 more frigging minutes trying to flush this piss away when I had an half-an-hour debate whether it was ruder to leave the piss in but not wake them up with a flush, and now I've pulled the flush. You asked the fucking question.
Because you're quite fastidious. I imagine you don't like people using your stuff.
I don't mind them when I give them stuff. Don't help yourself to stuff. I mean, make yourself at home, that's a cliche, isn't it? You say it, but you don't mean it. Like, if you say make yourself at home and someone starts making themselves a cup of tea, you think, well, what are you doing? Get out of my cupboards, that's not where the tea's kept. Right, I'll make you a cup of tea. When I said make yourself at home, I meant sit down and shut up.
Is it the mess?
That's basically it, yeah. Clearing up after them, I'll give you that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the worst thing about having guests staying over is cleaning up after them. Everyone's welcome at my house as long as they take their shoes off at the front door and then put them straight back on and fuck off. Well, that sounds tells me it's the end of the round and the end of the show, which means the final scores are Sean Henning and Vernon have 4 points, John, Lorraine and Johnny have 4 points. It's a dead heat. Everyone's a winner. Thanks to all our panellists, our wonderful studio audience, and to all of you for watching at home. That's it from us. Good night.